Let's give John a warm warrior welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Pluger. Good evening to all. Congratulations, graduates. You know, today I put on Facebook a question. I said, if you had 10 minutes with 100 graduates from high school, what would you tell them? And I got a lot of responses from all three of my friends. It was amazing. But I heard things that you would have that would not surprise you. Things like, find your passion, follow your dreams. One person who had been a teacher for 13 years and also had 3 children said, I've attended 16 graduations. Please just get up, say congratulations, graduates, and sit back down. It'll be the best keynote address ever. And one other person wrote, my advice, don't go to jail. I thought, okay, that's pretty good wisdom. What do you think, all, huh? Pretty good. But actually, I had already decided that I would talk about a core concept, a principle that is required for life success. I want to share it with you. Tasha, my daughter, sitting out there, embarrassed right now, knows that I've been a speaker and an author on one idea that I believe is required to succeed in life. That's what I do for a living. I teach this idea. But before I share with you what the idea is, just to drive home the point of how important it is, do we have any people here involved in real estate? May I see a hand if you're involved in real estate? All right, some hands going up. All right, good, good. Well, you all know the 3 secrets, the 3 keys to successful real estate. This is not new. I don't claim it as my own. You've all heard it. And if you're not even in real estate, you know the 3 keys to successful real estate success would be location, location, location. We've heard that, we know that, it's not new. If you have a home or a commercial building that is in the right location, you will achieve real estate success. I mention that for this reason. I'd like to take that same emphasis over to life success. As I look at these adults here, and in my opinion, when you're out of high school, you are an adult. And I look at these adults and I think, life success, that is a choice, and it requires one key principle. And let me share with you that principle. That principle is accountability, accountability, accountability. I just don't know how else to say it. I will be 59 years old next week, and I am almost grown up. One thing I've learned is everything I do in life requires personal accountability. And the reason I share this message wherever I go is because I need it. Did you know that we tend to teach to others what we need to hear ourselves? I'll say that again. We tend to teach to others what we need to hear ourselves. I need a message of personal accountability. Now, why do I need it? Well, husband of 37 years, father to 7, grandfather to 7, a professional with a career. I need to stand, as I'm standing on this stage tonight, on the bedrock truth of personal accountability. You want to succeed in life? I've got 3 things to tell you. Accountability, accountability, accountability. Another reason I think it's so important to mention accountability right now is currently in this world, we are not experiencing a society that sends the message of personal accountability very often. How often does our society support the message of personal responsibility, ownership for our life? I think sometimes the current world, the society in which we live, tells us to be a victim, to get offended, to not have our views challenged, to be entitled, to point fingers, to play the blame game, to envy those who have more than us. I think all of those messages conflict with this core value of personal accountability. And just think about it. You are now leaders. Let me ask you and the audience here, how many of you are leaders? May I see a hand, please? Raise your hand if you're a leader. Come on, raise your hand if you're a leader. All right, great. I think everybody is in a leadership position. You know, I spoke at a big sales conference in Texas, and I asked about 500 salespeople, how many of you are leaders? And a guy jumps up in the back row and he goes, I'm a leader, John, that's me, I'm a leader. And I was so surprised, I paused and I just said, that's great, sir, what is your name? And he says, Jim Leader. Now, would you believe him? I thought he was being a wise guy. So we took a break, I checked his driver's license, it said James D. Leader, Leader. I've never seen it since. I thought it was just amazing. His name was James Leader, and yet he's not the only leader. Every person in this room has the opportunity to be a leader, because every person in this room influences the actions and the opinions of other people through our choices, through our actions, through the things we do. And the question is, do we fall into the very human traps of blame, victim thinking, procrastination, entitlement, and finger pointing? No. We want to rise above. I am calling you to rise above. You see, I struggle personally with victim thinking. If you met my wife, Karen, who's here tonight, she would tell you, oh yeah, Johnny wears a sign around his neck at home. It says Chief Whiner. Because I play pity party very quickly. I play victim. I have a pity party where I'm the only guest invited. I ask questions like, why is this happening to me? Why don't I get more support? Why don't others do more for me? And all of a sudden I'm in victim thinking. So I have to call myself, as I am calling you graduates tonight, to rise above our current society. Do not engage in victim thinking. Stay away from the finger pointing. Do not become entitled. Decide today, I will earn everything I get in life. I will practice accountability. I will own my results. I will own my life. I will be a contrarian. Can you imagine being a contrarian? See, you're on the cusp. You're adults now. You're about to go out into the real world. And let me tell you something. Right now you have a choice. You can go with the flow of our society, or you can rise above and practice personal accountability. You could be in the world, not of the world. That's exciting, because when we choose to stand out through personal accountability, that is when we are outstanding. And who amongst us would not want to be called outstanding today? You know, I'm reminded of the pastor, the minister, if you will, who once said, if I'm not telling a story, I'm just preaching. So let me make sure I'm not preaching. Let me tell you a story. I call it a picture of personal accountability. I walked into the Rock Bottom Brewery restaurant. I sat down at a bar. They put me at the bar area because there were no booths, no tables available, very busy, lunchtime crowd. And I'm waiting to be waited on, and a young man running by me, carrying dirty dishes on a tray, he stops, and he looks at me. He says, sir, have you been helped? And I said, well, no, I haven't been. I'm kind of in a hurry. Well, I can help you, sir. What would you like? I said, well, I'll have just maybe a salad and a roll. Great. What would you like to drink? I said, I'll have a Diet Coke. It's my favorite. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We don't sell Coke products, only Pepsi. I said, oh, no, thanks. I'll have water and lemon. He says, great. I'll be back. A few minutes later, he's back with the salad and the roll and the water and the lemon, and I want you graduates to know, I want you adults in front of me to know that right then I was totally satisfied. But when you go out in that real world and you get a job, you're employed, you start to manage people, I want you to know that organizations don't have the extra edge by magic. They have the extra edge because you have chosen to go the extra mile. I am sitting there enjoying my meal, completely satisfied. This young man did not need to come back. Suddenly, I feel the wind of enthusiasm blowing behind my back. Long arm of service stretches over my shoulder and places right next to my plate a 20-ounce bottle of Diet Coke. That's right, just what I had asked for. I was so surprised, I just said, thanks. He said, you're welcome. He takes off. My first thought, hire him. Now, let me make a point. If some of you are going off to college, I say, good for you. Fantastic. Work hard, get that degree. But there's something that will always trump your degree, and that is your character. And for those out there in the audience who hire people, please, let's hire character before credentials. I want to hire people who are honest, have integrity, are punctual, have a desire to serve, want to contribute, want to make a difference, want to practice personal accountability in all things. And I'm looking at 100 of them right here from Eagle Ridge, 100 young people who want to practice personal accountability. So back to my story. I'm enjoying my meal. He doesn't need to return, but he understands we reap what we sow. We only reap what we sow. I turned to him. I called him over. I turned to him and I said, I thought you didn't sell Coke products. He said, we don't. I said, well, where did this come from? He says, grocery store around the corner. I said, who paid for it? He says, oh, I did, sir, just $1 out of my tip money. So I hired him for sales. Anyway, then I asked him one more question. I said, how did you have time to go get it? You've been busy. He straightens. He smiles. He says, oh, I didn't go get it, sir. I sent my manager. Now, for those of you with managers, can you imagine actually wanting to send your manager somewhere? Yes, I'm sure you can. I looked at him and I said to this young man, why? Why did you do this for me? Now he looks disappointed because he thought I was disappointed. His countenance falls. He says, I'm sorry, sir. Didn't you want one? And I thought, yes. Yes, I did want one. So this organization has the extra edge because you, Jacob Miller, not Jacob Kriska, Jacob Miller was his name. I love his last name, don't you? John Miller, if you don't know my name, all right? Jacob Miller, 22 years old, chose that day to not wallow in victim thinking by saying, why don't my colleagues work hard enough? He chose not to engage in blame by saying, who's supposed to be covering the bar area? He chose not to procrastinate by saying, when will somebody else solve this problem? He didn't ask, why don't people work as hard as I do? He didn't ask, when are we going to get customers that read the menu? He just stopped, heading to the kitchen, and he said, sir, how can I help you reach your goals? What can I do to contribute right now? How can I add value to this world? Those are marvelous questions. At my company, we call those the question behind the question, the QBQ. And the minute I start asking the question behind the question, like Jacob Miller that day, I can do great things. Because that day, Jacob did not say three things. Three things I'm going to ask you graduates to never say. And you older folks in the audience, I hope you never say them as well. And here they are. Not my department, not my job, not my problem. You see, Jacob ran by me that day, came back, he solved the problem, he owned the moment. He didn't say, not my department, not my problem, not my job. He took personal accountability. You know what? Jacob Miller, to me, stands out. Jacob Miller, like you Eagle Ridge graduates, he is outstanding, just like you. But how do we get to that level of outstanding? How do we overcome what society tells us to be? How do we overcome the negative messages of our world today? How do we swim upstream and go against the flow? One principle, personal accountability. When I practice that, I will be outstanding, and that is you. I've enjoyed being with you tonight. Congratulations again. Thank you. Thank you.